My Lobster got it back yet. Lobster's a 10 I told you grab it.
This video is brought to you by T-Blocks. Enjoy the content now, but stay for the shilling later. Welcome to Lobster Magnets Review the Channel. I'm here with myself to discuss Attack on Titan Chapter 100. Now the funny thing is I always look for the preview screens and see the quickly, hastily edited translation. I always kind of want to get ahead of the game and get my review out before most people are getting theirs out. But I'm always lazy and always don't record it, so it's always a couple days after. But this was a good chapter. I mean, I was a little bit disappointed because I was kind of hoping there would be balls to the wall gonzo-ness. I thought all of the old Waldians would reappear, that they were gonna be reintroduced, and we get to see them wreak their vengeance upon Marley. But we did not see that. Oh, also, special note for this video, since there's only so many sources I can find for Attack on Titan action sequences, and I don't want to force you guys to sit through the same two AMVs or action sequences again and again and again. For this video, we'll be using the old classic of Shadow of the Colossus gameplay footage with some Shadow of the Colossus music, because I want to start a theme with these videos until Season 3 hits and there's some new action sequence I could throw on to keep it interesting. We're going to go for video game boss battles with small guys fighting things that are much, much bigger for the sort of background footage, except for the times I choose to use, images from the actual manga. But it was a pretty good chapter. I enjoyed it mostly, but it felt like it was a lot of stalling up until the point where Eren makes his big declaration of war. And there was two very interesting things here. The very first thing that caught my attention most was the fact that we got to see Willie Billy, however the hell he's translated, basically admit that he, is well aware of the fact that, his whole charade is basically an attempt to draw in the Eldians, or the Waldians, to come and attack him, and he's basically sacrificing himself just so he can, go and unite the world in a incredible conflict to eliminate the Waldians once and for all and go kill them on Paradise Island. And that he's basically sacrificing himself for that. Which, to me, I thought was a very interesting story choice, because, I feel like that would have been a more interesting thing to get. In a traditional narrative, you would have gotten that flashback later to, give us context, only in this case, we're getting it, before Eren makes his big move, to just sort of, show that, Eren is kind of falling into his trap, and even the commander of the Marley army admits that, there's nothing we can do to protect you. We know we're in here. We can't find them. They're going to strike at any time. All we can do is just, try and minimize damage. And he's perfectly okay with that. And this disappoints me a lot, because basically the reason why it disappoints me is I was really liking the idea of, Willie Billy being, the final villain of the series. I thought that would have been really, really cool. To have this, self-hating Eldian Jew who's the head of the Tiber family. I thought he would have been a worthy final antagonist. But he still may not be dead. Technically, the only way we've seen a Titan Shifter die is getting eaten by another Titan so someone can take their power. If you remember a couple chapters back during the big confrontation when, the scouts were reclaiming the walls, Rainer got his head blown off, and he was able to survive that. So, even though Eren's, twisting his body up in his hands and whatnot, there's a chance that, Billy might be able to regenerate from that. Hopefully. I mean, you could say that, oh, he's crushed, there's no way he's coming back from that, but, we've seen Titan Shifters come back from far, far worse. So, there's a slim chance. I'm rooting for it for a bunch of reasons. One, I think, he would have been more effective as an alive villain, and I don't think he got a chance to live up to his full potential. And not to mention the fact that we haven't seen the Warhammer Titan, unless there's some way he can, pass it on to someone else before, being killed. That would suck. We only got 9 Titans, and we don't get to see the last one. What the hell? And the Warhammer Titan's been, hyped up for so long. I want to see the Warhammer Titan. So we'll have to see if Willie Billy can regenerate from that, or if he's actually dead and crushed. You know, there's a small chance. I think there's a pretty good chance that he might be able to regenerate. And also, that scene where Eren, like, regenerates his foot, oh man, that was so wonderfully creepy. I kind of loved that. I thought that was a great little piece of artwork where his, like, little toe is, like, peeking out. But yeah, it was just sort of like a lot of, like, Eren continuing his guilt trip and, like, you know, tormenting Rainer, which was okay. You know, I guess it's like cathartic revenge, and, you know, there's a scene where it almost seems like, you know, oh, they're gonna, like, shake hands, but then it turns out that Eren's gonna, like, blow up everything. He's gonna destroy it, which was, you know, of course, cathartic revenge. And then he does everything he said he wouldn't. He kills the innocent people, and he smashes the stage, and he just does not give any wants to murder the heck out of those, you know, Eldians and Marlenes, and get his huge revenge. And it does not matter who gets in the way. So who knows, maybe chapter 101 is when all hell breaks loose, and then we get to see, like, Armin's colossal titan, and we get to see the warriors somehow break out, and Zeke fights Eren's, like, evolved titan, since his, you know, his attack titan looks a little bit beefier than it was last time we saw, a little bit more mature to go along with mature Eren. And we'll see, maybe this is the final arc where, like, the entire world, you know, comes against Marley. It's just this entire siege battle, as, you know, the warrior titans, along with all the nations of the world, are forced to fight, not Marley, but, you know, Paradis, and that's the final battle and the final arc. I can sort of see that in resolving over the course of, like, I don't know, 20 chapters or whatnot. Just balls to the wall action. We'll have to wait and see, and then maybe, like, you know, because of the fact that the warriors were trapped, it'll be considered to be, like, disgraced by Marley. So then, like, the new warrior candidates will get their titans, so that way we can see the new warriors versus, like, Eren and the remaining Waldians. And that will, you know, signal the final conclusion of the series. And then Eren has to fight Gabby in armored titan form, and that would be a good battle, since Eren will basically be forced to fight a younger version of himself. Who's just as dogmatic as he used to be when he was like, you know, kill all the titans, I hate all the titans, I hate them all so much. I am enjoying this new Eren, though. You know, I think he's much more interesting than he was, you know, previous time jump. I always thought Eren was not, like, the greatest main character. Like, my favorite moment in the entire manga is when he gets, like, you know, killed on his first attempt to fight Titans, just to sort of, like, justify that, like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna kill them all, even though the, you know, manga/anime goes out of its way to demonstrate that, like, you know, even if you have your Spider-Man gear, it's not gonna help you against the Titans. They're pretty big and vicious and nasty, so you're not gonna have a good job or easy time killing them. That was kind of like what sold me on the manga. Like, oh my god, I gotta keep reading this. I love the fact that he got punished up until the point where he, you know, becomes a Titan for, at that point, no apparent reason. But yeah, this was a good chapter. You know, like I said, you know, Walking Dead spoilers. If you guys don't read the Walking Dead comic, let's, like, get into, like, why I don't like Billy being dead. In the Walking Dead comic, Robert Kirkman introduces this character named Alpha. And Alpha is essentially, she's sort of like his next big bad villain. She's an interesting character in that she leads this faction of people called the Whisperers. And what the Whisperers do is they, like, skin zombies, and they wear their flesh over their face, and they can, like, blend in with zombies. So, you know, in The Walking Dead, like, Robert Kirkman builds up this huge thing where it's basically this battle of civilizations where, you know, the Whisperers embrace the sort of, like, you know, survival of the fittest, like, return back to, like, primitive, feral animal philosophy that some people believe is, like, the only way to survive the zombie apocalypse. While Rick's basic, you know, group of interconnected communities is returning to civilization as we know it, and has formed this sort of, like, medieval society, and is trying to rebuild what we've lost, and, you know, reclaim the civilized world that existed before. And Alpha, like, I was rooting for her to be like, you know, oh, and she gets like a big villain moment, and I was like super happy, and I, you know, was rooting for her to become like the next big Walking Dead villain, to exceed Negan. But unfortunately, like, after, like, you know, chapters and chapters of build-up, what eventually happens is, you know, Negan goes to the Whisperers, joins their community, and he gets her to, like, break down and start crying and have this emotional realization after she realizes how much damage she does to herself, because, you know, in the Whisperer community, it's, like, strong, you know, keep what you can kill, survival of the fittest. So, you know, there's a literal rape culture in the Whisperers where, you know, that happens. If you can go and take it and the person can't kill you, then, you know, it's your right to, you know, do your nastiness. And, you know, that's happened to her daughter, and she feels really, really guilty about it, but she tries to have a strong face because she's the alpha. But Negan gets her to break down, and when he gets her to break down and confront her about the literal rape culture of the Whisperers, then he, you know, uses that to kill her, and he decapitates her, and that sparks the Whisper War. And I cried bullshit. On one hand, it's like a good scene, but it's like a complete, it's a complete FU by Robert Kirkman in terms of, you know, all the time he'd spent building up that villain. And for me, I would have preferred to have her around for a little bit longer and to actually, you know, get to enact many of her villainous things, as opposed to getting killed off so easily, which was a huge disappointment and a waste of a really good character. So that's why I have mixed feelings about, like, if Willie Tilber is dead, I'm going to be really, really disappointed, because I was really appreciating the idea of him being a villain, you know, like the final villain. But the idea that, like, you know, he just, like, completely gets killed off by Eren and sacrifices himself just feels like a waste. It really does feel like a huge waste. And I guess, like, you know, now it's a search for whichever random Eldian gets the Warhammer Titan's powers. I want to see that Warhammer Titan. I really do. Yeah, fingers crossed. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe Billy's still alive and we'll get to see more of the Warhammer Titan. So if I had to rate this, I'd give it like a 7.5. I mean, I just wanted balls to the wall craziness. Like, I wanted to be as shocked and amazed as that chapter when, like, you know, they introduced Marley, like, air-dropping Titans on military bases and, like, kaiju fights with trains and modern technology. That was amazing. I wanted something batshit crazy like that for these opening scene, for this 100th chapter with, like, you know, the Waldians, like, attacking, and we didn't quite get that, unfortunately. So, yeah, it was good. A little disappointing. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe next week will be, you know, the balls to the wall craziness as Eren rampages amongst the, you know, leaders of the world and starts massacring what he believes to be the Marley leadership. So thank you for sitting around watching my video, hearing my thoughts on Attack on Titan Chapter 100. And, you know, remember, check out the T-Blocks commercial that I'm going to be putting at the end of this. T-Blocks is great. T-Blocks, you can go get 10% off of a T-Blocks order with the Lobster code, which you'll see in the ad, and I'll include at the bottom of this video. And thank you so much for spending the past, like, you know, 13, 15 minutes hanging out with me and hearing my thoughts. Remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.
Lobsters made of iron, lobsters made of light.